Race number 8 at Santa Anita on Saturday is the Grade 1 Beholder Mile. I'm Dan Illman. This is Matt Bernier via Skype. Let's take a look at this field named after the sensational, recently retired champion Beholder. Only a field of 5, Matt, but you've got 2 champions in their own right in this race, and a horse that's not the champion, the one Vale Dori, is thus far having a championship-level season.
She really is. I think there's a case to be made that Vale Dori at this stage in the game, if you needed to make sort of your eclipse year-end vote known, I think just based on the body of work, Vale Dori would have to be considered the leader in the clubhouse, acknowledging, though, that now the bigger girls are showing up. You're going to get Stellar Wind making her second start as a 5-year-old. You're going to get Songbird coming up next week in the Ogden 5th. So the big girls are slowly starting to come back, but you can't take anything away from what Vale Dori's done thus far.
She's 4 for 4 this year with 1 Grade 1 win in the Santa Margarita, and she's won her last 6 starts for Bob Baffert. She also draws inside. Does that force Rafael Bejarano's hand? Is he sort of forced to send Vale Dori right to the front? We know she likes to be close.
You know, I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens, because I wonder if we're going to get something similar to what we saw in the Santa Margarita between Vale Dori and Finest City. Now, the difference for me there anyway, the Santa Margarita was run at 9 furlongs. This race is run at 8 furlongs at not a one-turn mile, but a mile distance. And I wonder if Mike Smith with Finest City is going to be a little bit more intent on saying, you know what, we've got to establish position early, because maybe Vale Dori, she's shown in the past that she's willing to sit. And not that Finest City isn't, but I almost wonder at the mile, maybe Mike's going to be a little bit more aggressive with Finest City and push the envelope, and then it's going to make Bejarano make a decision, either go or blink and sit.
It's an interesting point as we take a look at the Timeform U.S. pace projector for this year's Beholder Mile. We don't expect the pace to be very fast. We have Vale Dori and Finest City basically nose and nose for the lead, and sitting in the catbird seat is the number 2 Stellar Wind. Whether Smith is aggressive, whether he's not aggressive, I think we'll agree that Stellar Wind probably sits that good trip in third.
Absolutely, and she's the most likely winner in this race. I don't think anyone would argue with that. It's going to be interesting to see what kind of pace does develop, because I wonder if they go, let's just say 48 and change for a half mile, you know that the 1 and the 4 are both very talented fillies, and then Stellar Wind, she has the class over the 2 of them. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of sort of actual pace scenario we get from this Stellar Wind. I don't have any knocks against the Apple Blossom. Terra Promessa, the horse that she beat, came back to win on Preakness weekend. I thought it was a little bit workmanlike, and I think she's going to need to take a step forward if she's going to win this race.
I think that's really kind of the question if you're trying to knock Stellar Wind. It's that, A, it was a bit workmanlike, although she always seemed to have Terra Promessa, and B, that the Buyer's speed figure came back a little bit light. And I really wonder if that's just the wrong way to look at Stellar Wind, because we know that she can run much faster races. The Apple Blossom was only her first start this year. The Beholder quite possibly could have been the main sort of mid-season goal, and she's going to get the right trip. I'm not going to hold that 94 Buyer against her. I agree with you. She's way the horse to beat.
Well, and you had brought it up, too, in the past. I mean, let's talk about the namesake of the horse that this race is named after now, Beholder. How many times did she come back in her first start off the bench? The figure came back just ridiculously low, and you look at it and you go, I know what she is. She's not a 78 Buyer horse or an 80 Buyer horse. She turned into that 105, 110 on occasion. So I agree. I don't think that's probably the accurate or correct way to look at Stellar Wind and say 94 is what she is. She's better than that. We know that.
The 3 Show Stealer really needs sort of a hot and contested pace, something that we're really not expecting in order to pick up some pieces. She's already earned a couple of Grade 2 placings. It's hard to imagine her beating all of the big 3. Faithfully seems like she's in this race as sort of just an insurance that the race will go. You got 5. Baffert throws in the other horse with Faithfully. Can you see one of these 2 horses even getting a piece?
The only scenario I think the 3 or the 5 somehow hits the board is if the 1 and the 4 just go gangbusters and they throw it down and you get a 45 half mile. I don't think we're going to have that, but that could be the only way that I would envision either one of those other 2 fillies hitting the board.
Let's take a look at our top selection for this year's Beholder Mile. We both agree that Stellar Wind is the likely winner, the horse to beat. From a price standpoint, however, it's possible that the 4 Finest City, last year's filly and mare sprint champion, is going to be the best price of the 3, plus she has that bit of tactical speed. 7 furlongs is probably her best distance. I'm not sure she's at her best at a 2-turn mile. I agree with you. I would take the race to Vale Dori early. We know that Vale Dori is a little obstinate. She starts flashing her tail when she doesn't get her own way. I would try to put Finest City on the lead and play Catch Me If You Can, but she's pretty good in her own right, and the price is right.
You know, in her most recent start, Vale Dori, she was flashing the tail, and I think that's an important thing that you bring up. You wonder, they've got a lot of racing in a short amount of time out of this filly. I wonder, are we slowly starting to see her go off form a little bit? And even if we aren't, at a short price, I just want to fade against her. I'm going to lean with Finest City in the spot.
Stellar Wind, the horse to beat, will take a small shot against the champion with the number 4, Finest City, in the Grade 1 Beholder Mile. 2 Grade 1 races at Santa Anita on Saturday. If you happen to be playing that card, DRF Bets is the way to go because new subscribers have access to a $300 bonus and lots more handicapping information. All you have to do is head on over to drfbets.com/VIP and sign up. Approximate post time for the Beholder, race number 8 at the Great Race Place on Saturday, 4:30 Pacific. Good luck.